At Relentless Digital, we believe in breaking barriers and driving innovation. That's why we are extremely proud to sponsor the Power Women of the Trades podcast, supporting the voices and success of women in the home service industry. Together, we're creating a future where talent shines regardless of gender and diversity thrives. Join our journey at relentless-digital.com and always be relentless in your pursuit of excellence.
This episode of Power Women of the Trades is also brought to you by Forrest Perry of Forrest Perry Digital Marketing. Want to generate more leads for your service business? Trust his team to deliver quality new customer leads and protect your brand online. Check out perrymarketing.com today.
Hello everyone. We want to give a quick shout out to our amazing partner, Rilla, the game changer in the home service industry. Rilla's virtual ride-along software means no more physical ride-alongs. With Rilla, you can coach your team virtually 100 times faster and boost your close sale rates like never before. Don't miss out. Join the movement today and watch your sales soar. Visit rilla.com/PWT to learn more.
Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Power Women of the Trades with Cassie and Heather. Today we have Heather Arlinghaus from Cincinnati. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So
good.
I'm excited to hear your story because I think there's a lot of similarities in what you do day to day and what I do. And then I think our timelines are about the same of like the company. So let's get into it. Tell us about Arlinghaus.
Awesome. So my husband and I started this company in 2008. Since then, we've added plumbing to it and we just instituted electric. So 2025, we did that. We have grown our company to about 150 employees and it's been a ton of fun to be able to work with my husband day in and day out. He is more of the motivator where I am more of the doer. So it works really well.
Yeah.
I love that because that's Cassie and Oscar are that way too. And then my partner at Sky, he and I were like that. We were not married. People thought we were brother and sister because we would bicker. But I love it when you find like a partner, whether it's your spouse or just somebody who's a really good friend that you can build the business with.
Mm-hmm. In my personal opinion, what you just said is like you're the doer and he's the motivator or whatever. I think that the secret to marriages or partners being in business is identifying the role of which and not both trying to do the same thing. Because I think what happens is when business turns into divorce is because the partners were like competing against each other or trying to like one up the other person. Like I've literally seen husband and wife like almost as like they were each other's competitor. And I think that is absolutely not the way to do this. And take business out of it. That's also not the way to do marriage in general. But I am not a marriage professional, but I am on my second one and doing great. But we've seen so many things happen. I feel like I've been around for long enough to like kind of like really identify some of the things that I've seen with husband and wife duos. And when you can say so freely, like you just did, this is what I do and this is what he does, that's the secret.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah. And I think probably the biggest thing that changed our business is, we wanted to go home and not have to talk about the business and not worry about it. And you can't just turn a light switch off and on and decide, hey, this is what we're going to do. So that really changed, several years ago to make sure that, we were moving in the right direction together as husband and wife and family.
Yeah, for sure. So do you feel like you can go home and not talk about it?
Oh, no. He can. Believe me, he can. I'm the one that wants to be in control and know everything. So yeah, he could sit down on the couch and not think about it until the next morning.
Oh, Heather, we are so alike. But, honestly, that's the other thing. When people have asked, the advice of how do you do it, it's we didn't put all these like stupid rules up. And I'm sorry that I said stupid because they're not stupid. If the rule in your life is what makes it work for you, then that's fine. It was dumb for us. When I said that if we tried, okay, well, we can't talk about it at home. We can't talk about the business here. The truth is that Oscar and I do totally different jobs all day long. His office is directly next to mine, and some days I don't talk to him at this place. So if we both worked in different industries at different places, when we would get home, we would download our day to our spouse. Just because we have a company doesn't mean we can't download our day to our spouse anymore. So we didn't put that limitation on us because otherwise we weren't talking about anything because, he did this morning.
But you still had a day and, you both still have your day. I mean, my husband does not work in this industry. He's in the medical field, but we still, at the end of the day, he asks me how my day is and I ask him how his day was.
But in husband and wife duos, it was kind of like the stigma of like, don't talk about it at home because that's going to be like, that's what's best for your marriage. Well, no, you still need to talk about what you would like. That's part of your relationship, like of how your day went. And so anyways, totally. I love that. But so in Cincinnati, okay, so I got a couple questions first.
Sure.
I'm all over the place.
I like you already.
My coffee just kicked in. Okay, so when did you guys go out with the pink strategy?
Oh my gosh, 2016.
So that was because, a lot of people brand with Kick Charge, love them. I don't think you did, but you went and you just jumped in with pink. And a lot of people started doing like the disruptive colors in like 2020s, starting in 2020 and stuff. So that you were ahead of the time there. So what made you go pink?
So it's funny. We're a member of Nexstar and Dave Rendell was there and there was, 900 different companies there. And we're in the middle of the room and he walks on stage and he is a skinny fella and he's tall and he's got jeans on and a pink shirt and these bling bling shoes on. And he just talked to us about being different. He's like, there's a million different, people out there, coaches out there. And I needed to look different for people to choose me. And he looked around the room and he said, okay, if you guys all look the same, which everybody did. In fact, we had green on, like a lime green then. So that was out of the ordinary back then. And he's like, but you got black on, you got gray on, and you got white on.
Or red, blue.
And if you look around a room and, you got this guy over here that's 5,000, this guy over here, 10,000, this guy over here, 15 for an HVAC install, I'm going to go the cheaper route because you don't stand out to me. And literally my husband's like, he looks at me and he's like, all right, we're going pink.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And we get on the airplane and this is a true story. Back then, Amazon wasn't big at all. I mean, 2016. And he literally could not find any pink shirts. He ended up finding 5 Nike ones in the whole country and brought them back and we got them labeled and logoed. And, half of our team were like, nope, don't even ask me to wear the pink. I'm not wearing it. So he's like, that's all right. I'll wear it. And then, a couple weeks later they started coming to him and asked if they could have them. And then of course we could not get our hands on them. So like literally these shirts that I have on, we had to have made. They're dyed pink shirt. That matched my nail polish at the time.
I love that. So there's a book called The Purple Cow. And in The Purple Cow, it's talking about standing out, right? And so for us, Oscar had started the business pre-me, really, and he had named it Quality. But we were really going to start going back to his original business cards and all of that. Our logo had blue and it was blue and red. And that was the thing is it was first of all, we didn't even have a logo. But then when we got the logo, we went the Oklahoma City Thunder colors, which was orange and royal blue or orange and blue. And then it just kind of progressed from there. It ended up orange and black. And then when we rebranded, everyone thinks that we're an Oklahoma State fan because it's orange. And Oscar's diehard Sooner fan, which is crimson. But he went orange. He said every other heat and air company in this town is red and blue. And we need to stand out. And so that's why we went orange. And even when we rebranded, we have some cyan blue color and yellow, but we still primarily only show up in orange because that's our color. And so big fan of that standout behavior, and the pink sounds like it's doing some good things for you.
It is. And you can't hide from it, right? So you've got on pink, you can't hide from it.
Right. And I love that your guy or your text came around to it because at first they're probably absolutely not. But then I think at the back of their mind, they were probably okay, that's cool though.
Yes, for sure.
When we rebranded at Sky, we had a really actually very standoutish red and blue logo. But when we added plumbing and electrical, Travis wanted to kind of monopolize the colors before anyone else did because we rebranded in 2018, 2019. And he wanted to do purple for plumbing and green with the same logo, but he wanted to monopolize those colors. Dan Antonelli was like, what the hell are you doing? Travis said, just roll
was doing that and that. I remember this.
He was not happy, but we did it. And we had the same, actually worked out well for us at Sky because you always knew like the green trucks were electrical, the purple trucks were plumbing, and then the red and blue is heating and air conditioning, and all the same logo. We just changed that base color. But a lot of our plumbers gave pushback on the purple. So I get what you're saying there with the pink. The guys are like, I'm not wearing a purple shirt.
I love it. So through the years in the business, I'm sure you've worn many hats on the day to day. You said you like the control, which is a thing for sure. So what is your day to day?
So currently I run the business, meaning I have 2 locations. So we are housed in Northern Kentucky. This is where our main location is, which also services Indiana. And then we have a location up in Sharonville, Ohio. So I have 2 general managers for both of these locations. So I just hired my last general manager for Northern Kentucky, who's been with me for over 10 years. So we're transitioning through that process. So I currently manage marketing. I have a marketing director, but what I oversee, and then accounting, and then HR. So I'm really kind of back to the things that I love, and it's really good. Instead of trying to manage everybody, I finally decided, okay, I've got to do this general manager thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was the timeline for your growth? I mean, how, like, you started the business and then, you started to grow, you started to gain traction, you rebranded with the pink. We're Nexstar also, so very familiar with that. And but like, what was your timeline and how did you manage the growth? Because I think, we have all talked about in this industry, you get to the 5 million mark and getting over that hump is hard. And then the 10 million mark, these benchmarks that get a little bit more difficult to get over those humps of growth, I think, because you're not wanting to overhire for your administrative. You don't want to like be top heavy on the administrative side, but you still want to have enough administrative management that you can handle adding field personnel. So can you tell us a little bit about like what that timeline and those growth steps for Arlinghaus looked like?
Sure. So for us, I did it a little bit differently. I hired all of the managers first before we started really growing the business. I realized that I needed to bring people up who had already worked with us. So most of my managers have been with me from, 5 to 10 years. So really built the team around them. And, from really through COVID, it was an awful thing that happened, but it really, helped us grow our business. And then, we kind of hit that wall between 20 and 25 million and really deciding, okay, I need to bring a general manager in here to make sure that we're continuing to grow. And, we added plumbing about 6 years ago, and that really changed our business for us. It just, we're already at the customer's home. They're going to somebody else for plumbing. So why not offer that to them as well? So that's really, what happened. And then this year we added electric. And we had some licensing things here in the state of Kentucky that, required us to be electricians now. So we've just got our electrical license. And oh my goodness, around us, there's not many electrical companies that are doing residential. So that's really helped us grow our business.
Oh, wow. Well, that's good that there's not, you don't have too much competition around you.
Mm-hmm. No, I have tons of HVAC competition.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem we always have.
Yeah, everyone does. Everyone's like, and then it's going to be so easy in HVAC when I start my business, right? And you're like, okay.
Most businesses' online presence is boring. And by being boring, they're losing out on potential sales and customers. Being interesting and exciting is what draws customers in and gets them to buy from you. But it's hard to be interesting online when you're focused on running your business and taking care of your customers. It doesn't have to be this way. We have the key to unlocking the solution to your problem. Key Heart Marketing can help take your business from boring to brilliant on social media. We can vouch for them. They run our podcast socials. If you want to have a strong social media presence that allows customers to know, like, and trust you, connect with Key Heart Marketing at keyheartmarketing.com.
Yeah. So do you guys do electric also, or just plumbing and heating?
They just added electric.
Yeah, we just added electric.
That's where I missed that. I'm sorry. I was like, I got lost in the sauce there. That's exactly like, there's so many correlations. Heather, do you see my Heather over here? Heather, there's 2 Heathers. Like, there's so many similarities in their story and ours.
Very much. Very, very similar. And I can say when we were at Sky, before I was part of quality, we had primarily done HVAC for over 30 years. And adding plumbing was a different ballgame because it's it's more consistent than HVAC. HVAC is so weather driven. And then, once we had added plumbing, adding electric was fairly easy because plumbing and electric are very similar in their consistency versus the weather driven HVAC piece of it. So would you say the same thing for you once you added electric?
Definitely, for sure. Yeah. HVAC, owning an HVAC company, gosh, you wake up every morning and you're like, okay, what's the weather going to do today? That's what my business is going to do today. And then plumbing, obviously it's great when it rains, but then you're paying for that for a couple weeks when it rains too. So, and then electric, people just don't want to mess with electricity. So it works as long as you're doing the right marketing. That's the biggest thing.
Aren't you? So I always say that we're part-time weathermen to own a heat and air company. And then plumbing for us is literally just like a running faucet right now. Like we are constantly busy. We cannot get everything's working. We are slammed, And then how are you? Can you relate to me in this of when something's going really well, you're waiting for the bottom to fall out and there's probably nothing to fall out because you actually have just implemented processes, but you just can't believe it.
Oh my gosh. That's funny that you say that because I feel like that's my everyday life. Yeah. Where somebody asked me the other day, what would you say your biggest downfall is, as an owner? And I'm like, well, I never celebrate anything because I'm always waiting for the next thing to happen. Or February 15th, I was making sure we hit our month and I've already moved on to March and my team's, celebrating February. And I'm like, am I ever going to get better at this? I don't think so.
No, because I think that when we set goals for ourselves, especially high achiever syndrome, okay? I think that we set goals for ourselves and we have already changed and grown the goal before we hit it. So when we actually hit it, we don't ever give ourselves credit for that first goal being hit because we've already advanced, we've already moved it. That's why I know that there are some people that really want to figure me out. And I'm like, listen, buddy, you're never going to figure me out in my strategy because this strategy changes before I even fully give credit of what we were doing. Right? Because that's how quick.
Well, that's very true. Yeah. Cassie, you're spot on with that. You are spot on with that because I think, there's no way to figure out what Cassie's going to do. The job of our directors and our managers is to wait for Cassie's idea and to implement it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank God we have an amazing team that understands that and gets that and works with it. And Heather sees though, but Heather knows and especially because Heather's known me in the business and outside of the business. And she's known me longer outside of our business. So she probably has, better perspective than anybody, but there's no way you're going to find Cassie's secret sauce because it's changing. And I feel like you and I probably relate in that, Heather, as far as you just said, you're already thinking the next month or past that, and you have to be that proactive and that prepared and have a great team around you to handle the day-to-day that's maybe going or not,
For sure. And I think that's why it works. I think that's also why my husband and I work so well together because he's the one, the celebrator and everything else. He's shooting fireworks off out here in the parking lot. And I'm like, how much did those cost? Yeah, they're just with my net income. What are we doing?
Right. Listen, that is so funny. I made a joke and we use Microsoft Teams for the whole company and we have an all company chat that's basically like Facebook. It's our company Facebook. They'll be selling something. They'll be talking about something. They're sending funny gifts and memes and stuff in there. But I made a joke in one of the chats yesterday and our plumber came in yesterday and he said, I almost said back about basically, but what was that going to cost? I was like, I'm not predictable, huh? And he was like, but you're not wrong, anyways, I love that. And like I said,
I kind of think you brought me in here so that I could say what's that going to cost.
Yeah, now I start messages with Heather's permission, or I'll start messages with, we're going to do this. And I'll say, sorry, thanks, Heather.
She's being 100% truthful. And it's funny. I see it come through those chats and I'm like, okay.
I love having a CFO. I love her and I wish she lived in Oklahoma, but it's also almost amazing that she doesn't because sometimes I'm like, she can yell through a screen.
Really, I think as the front runner, the front person in the business, Cassie and Heather, you need to be thinking March, April, because you have the management team and the people in place that are handling that day-to-day operation. And I love being part of quality because I can be that cheerleader and I can crack the whip and say, listen, this is what we're going to do. But I also want to say, hey, we kicked ass last month. And I'm proud of you guys for following the recipe that I gave you for making shit happen. While Cassie's going 100 miles an hour in the other direction and we're just waiting for her to say, okay, we're going to put up 30 billboards.
Right. Yeah, I did do that. So that's exciting. You're right.
It'll be a success.
It's going to be fine. What is it going to be? Fine.
Well, and here's the thing. Even if, let's say it's not successful, if we don't try things, we have no ability to actually know if it's going to work or not. The secret is if it's not working, then we pivot and do something else. And Cassie is really great at that. And it sounds like you are too, Heather. You know, you're looking 5 steps ahead and you can say, okay, I don't see this idea was working. We have to pivot and go a different direction. And if we can do that fast enough and the team knows that they're on board and they're just going to go with whatever direction that we are taking the team, then we're always going to win. Whether the idea was a good one or not, at least we know we tried it, it didn't work, right?
Yeah. I saw a TikTok once that said something about most successful people are not always smarter, they're just faster. And I can tell you that my brain is faster. You know, I can identify and then I can flip and then go. And it sounds like, Heather, that's like kind of maybe the same strategies that you've had there. But then sometimes, you know, like you said, with the control too, you're just like, okay, wait, hang on, let me get back involved in that. Do you find yourself trying to like jump back into like daily trainings and things and you're like, oh,
you know what? That has been really, really hard over the last 30 days of trying to make sure that I don't. You know, it's funny, I'll text my GM. My one in the north, I'm fine with because I'm not physically there every day and he knows anything I'm coming to him with, you know, needs help on. Where my one here, I just try not to step in the way. But then after the first month, I had to get the entire team back together and say, okay, guys, like this has to be a 6-month transition of what this looks like. So if you see me jumping in on things, and it's typically our HVAC install, right? Because that's what makes or breaks our overhead. So I think like, yeah. I mean, they know. They're like, if Heather, you know, it's easy to be able to do. And, you know, I don't sit in every daily huddle that we do, but, you know, when I do, it's not just, you know, for losing, it's when we're winning too. And I just like to be a part of that. But I am more of the person who jumps in a text and will say something and, you know, or just make sure that we're looking at something, you know, because we get busy. I mean, oh my goodness, my install coordinators, they're so busy. And if something slips through, you know, we might miss an install day and that's not good.
Right. I hope we're going to have to pull this and let our team hear that message where she said the HVAC install, because that's the first one. It's kind of like, if it's not hitting, that's the first one. And everyone wants to be like, but look at plumbing and look at electric. And it's great. I love it. And I'm thankful. And I love you all. But HVAC install is holding a lot, you know, and it gets scary real quickly. And it's the most bipolar department, you know, because of the,
yes, it is.
I'm like, good grief. We need like a counseling group for and the truth is that, you know, there's people that want to like act like that's not their business. Yes, it is. If you run HVAC, it doesn't matter. You have days that you're just like, do we even know how to do this business? Like, do we know how to sell things? Do we know? What do we?
Oh yeah. Especially when it comes to marketed leads. I'm like, have you ever done this before? That was my conversation 2 days ago. Like what happened? Like, I get it. I feel like and I'm very clear. So we have monthly company meetings and, you know, we go over numbers. We don't dive in too deep. I let my department managers do that in their meetings, but I'm just really clear. Hey guys, this pays everybody's paycheck in this room. 153 people and they understand it. They get it. So, you know, I want everybody to realize that, you know, our plumbing, we have great margins and hopefully we'll get to the point where, you know, we're doing as much as HVAC. But again, we follow, you know, all of the numbers, but that's the one that takes us over the finish line every month.
Right.
Yep. You're right.
For sure.
And if we lose, it's because we didn't do an HVAC install. So
every time. Oh my gosh. Kaylee, when we're done with this recording, I need you to have them snip the last 5 minutes so we can send it to our directors today because they need to hear it. Also, we're recording this in February. This episode probably won't go live until March or April, but it really doesn't matter where you're at location-wise. February in HVAC is always going to be February. It's just like the crappiest month. It doesn't matter. You always feel like you are doing everything and it's still not enough. And, you know, we get into the things of like, yesterday I just said, keep just doing to some of our leaders, like just keep working the process, doing everything, you know, just keep doing it because February is going to go away and then we'll get back into March and we'll get back everything. But do you feel that in February?
Right. I don't. Not this year. We do offer free furnace. We have February. I mean, we follow a lot of those things and we have home shows. Now, this is the first year in February that we haven't had our biggest home show. They're renovating our convention center. So I was really nervous about that one. That usually brings us $650,000 in business a year. But with our billboards and our radio, we've gotten the leads in. It's just we have so much competition right now that is selling. They're half the price.
You know,
we're never going to get there.
Half the price. You're like, thank you for that. You know what our problem is? This February is going to be probably double what we did last February, but we want it to be the same pace as every other month. And February for Oklahoma, so maybe I was incorrect when I said everybody. I still think a lot of people relate, but like for the most part, February is a transition month. We're going to start talking more about cooling next month and those types of things. And so it's just a rough month for us. And so I don't know that it's as rough. Well, I know that it's not as rough for us as we think it is, because we know that there's going to be growth no matter what, but we want more.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also hard. Like today I'm looking outside and it's 67 degrees out. And last Monday it was snowing. So I never want to use the weather as like the reason. But at the same time, when you said bipolar, I'm like, holy cow, like this is what we're dealing with.
It was the same exact weather in Oklahoma last week and this week too. It's exactly the same. And I had a conversation with the team and I'm like, hey, we're going to have this stuff happen. Mm-hmm. We can't just sit back and go, oh, well, it snowed. It was icy this week. Okay, well, what are we going to do about it? We still have a budget.
Yeah. Well, and that's funny because this year, we've always had this budget that we just cannot reach. Like we just think that, we're going to, and sometimes we get those 30% increases year over year, but we're like, okay, in February, we have to win. And so making sure our budget was right so our team could win was important versus, our budget this year is lower than last year because I'm like, this team has to win and you can't continue to keep them high. And of course, in my mind, they're showing the team our plan numbers, but we're going to hit budget. And I think I'm just getting smarter or I'm giving in. I don't know.
Heather, we are the same person.
I know. I'm just sitting here going, we had this exact same conversation the first week of November when we did a business planning workshop with Nexstar.
Yeah. We always, our budget, what will happen is, and it's the truth, it doesn't matter how much you train and how efficient you are and how much you follow the process. At the end of the year, when you look at how many calls you ran and your problems and you see the $3 to $5 million you left on the table every year, you're like, what the hell? And then you divide it out, right? The $3 to $5 million, and you divide it out between the year and you're like, oh, so that was like $5,000 a day or something, whatever it is. I'm not doing real math right now. And then you just look at each other and they're like, we could have done that.
Yeah. Well, that's why I don't
look at an attitude this year.
Yeah.
That's why I don't look at my Service Titan numbers every day because I'm losing $1.5 million, every month according to Service Titan. So I stick with what I can, control and manage. And, we're still having fun at it. We get better every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All you can do.
For sure. Are you guys 100% fame owned yourself?
We partnered with Redwood. So if you're familiar with that, family-owned company for them. So we did that back in 2022. Great opportunity for Brian and I to be able to take some chips off the table and still run our day-to-day business. So it's been amazing. So yeah, way 2 kids in the business now.
Awesome. Yeah. That's a good story on that side for sure too. Awesome. Well, what's in the future for Arlinghaus?
Well, we are in the process of doing some tuck-ins. We had our first one back in July, and then just, we plan to keep moving up north. We've got Sharonville, the more in like Columbus area, and keep moving north. Kentucky, you got to have a lot of licensing requirements. Instead of going south like I wanted to, we're going north.
I totally understand that. There's a lot of licensing requirements in Oregon too. So that was always a challenge doing tuck-ins and trying to expand coverage areas.
Yeah, for sure. We do run a university here as well. So we have Arlinghaus University. So we bring in, people who just want to get into the trades and do something new. A lot of high school students that have just graduated. So we do plumbing and HVAC service and HVAC install through it. So it's going to be a focus of ours, moving forward into the future.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Awesome.
That's exciting. I would love to hear more about that. I'm going to have to email you and get some information on that.
For sure do.
That would be great. We're huge on training here, and I'd love to we're always looking for the opportunity, and especially knowing you guys are Nexstar also. Anytime that we find someone that with Nexstar that has good training processes, it's always like, hey, feed us that information if you're willing, because it's definitely something that at least we're all on the same page with. So
for sure.
But Heather, it was really great to chat with you today. You guys sound like you have an awesome business up there, and you have some amazing things happening, and you should be super proud of yourself and keep pushing for a great 2025. And thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple. And make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.